Did you know in the musical Little Shop of Horrors, the giant man-eating plant is actually part Venus flytrap? It's a little horrifying, actually. But how does a regular Venus flytrap get its energy? Well, other than munching on Uncle Tom. It's actually a pretty long and complicated process that involves both photosynthesis and cellular respiration. In this video, I'm going to be talking about how a Venus flytrap utilizes its own special cells and biomolecules to get energy, and why these bloodthirsty plants need photosynthesis and cellular respiration. Three of the most important biomolecules involved in how a Venus flytrap gets energy are nucleic acids, carbohydrates, and lipids. I know, exciting, right? I promise it's more exciting than it sounds. The long story short of how these very complicated molecules work is that carbohydrates, which are commonly found in lactose, fructose, and starch, are the plant's main source of energy. The job of nucleic acids, which are usually found in DNA and ATP, are to move process energy through the plant into different stages of cellular respiration. It's basically plant metabolism. Lipids are where all of the leftover energy that nucleic acids deliver are stored and turned into fat. Lipids are, funnily enough, more often than not found in steroids. So now you know how energy travels through a Venus flytrap, but what kind of specialized cells does that funky little killer use to nab some energy? You're probably not asking, but I'm going to tell you anyway. The three main specialized cells we're going to be focusing on, out of the way too many Venus flytraps have, are root hair cells, motor cells, and folian. Can you try and pronounce that?
Let me see. Flowin.
Flowin? Yeah, try and pronounce that. Flowin?
Flowin?
I don't know how to pronounce that. It's
Okay,
a flowin.
Hold on. Flowin?
Flowin cells.
One eternity later.
And phloem cells. First up on the chopping block are motor cells. Motor cells are the brain of a plant. They send commands and reactions through electric signals. Think motor cells are the chief of molecule army. Motor cells are the ones that dictate where the energy the plant absorbs is directed. Next up are the phloem cells. Phloem cells' job is to transport nutrients from leaves to growing regions of the plant. If motor cells are the chief, phloem cells are the waiter that brings food to the hungriest table. And finally, we have root hair cells. Root hair cells take in water and nutrients from the soil and turns it into mitochondria, the powerhouse, which is pretty important. And now, the heart of this entire video. Drumroll, please. Okay, how Venus flytraps get energy through photosynthesis and cellular respiration. Let's start with the first process, photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is way more than just plant take sun, plant produce oxygen. No, the very beginning starts with something called chloroplasts. Chloroplasts are the itty-bitty parts of the plant that actually absorb sunlight energy. Without these little guys, well, moving off of that depressing topic, there's still the question of why do Venus flytraps even need photosynthesis? Well, dear someone that definitely asked that question, Venus flytraps photosynthesize to get the nutrients they cannot find or get enough of in their natural environments. Photosynthesis is a huge part of where a plant's raw, unprocessed energy comes from. If you really want to get technical, the equation for photosynthesis is CO2 plus H2O plus light is transformed into C6H12O6 plus O2. That's a lot. I know, right? When you break it down, it basically means that the reactants or input of the photosynthesis process is water, carbon dioxide, and sunlight that gets transformed into the product O2. That really long compound, the C6H12O2, that confusing one, that is glucose. And the glucose photosynthesis produces gets cycled into the plant to jumpstart our next process, cellular respiration. Now this process is the true heart of how Venus flytraps get their energy. The ultimate purpose of cellular respiration is to break down nutrients, mainly glucose, through catabolic pathways to produce the star of this show, ATP. Cellular respiration has three different steps: glycolysis, the Krebs cycle, and the electron transport chain. Glycolysis takes in the already processed glucose that photosynthesis provided us to mix it in with processed ATP to make, well, more ATP. In the Krebs cycle is where our next product, CO2, is spat out. But that's not all. After a little step called pyruvate, all of the atoms gained so far rearrange to make more CO2 and ATP. In the final step, the electron transport chain, the newly rearranged atoms create the mother of all energy, 32 ATP and H2O. A question I know I had when I first learned about this was, wait, you need to use ATP to make ATP? Well, throughout the entire process, a plant makes a total of 38 ATP, but they only use 2 for the cycle. So humor me and say this is cool, cause it is. Alright folks, we've reached the end. It's time to answer our big question, how do Venus flytraps get energy? But first, and I promise I'll stop yapping at you in a minute, for the people in the back that have been on their phones this whole time, yeah, you, this is the part you're going to want to pay attention to. You know who you are. Venus flytraps capture their energy through sunlight and nutrients they break down and turn into ATP. That's it. I know, an entire video for a single sentence. But I'm tired, so bye. Miss Vasquez, please give me an A. I need a good grade on this.